Welcome to my Melodyne 5 Advanced Tips and Tricks course. In this course, I'll show you some of my favorite advanced tips for vocal production, creating vocal harmonies, fixing polyphonic recordings, working with loops and extracting samples from polyphonic material. I'll dive into the sound editor for adjusting harmonic issues in vocals and using the sound editor for sound design as well. And I'll also show you how to fix intonation issues with electric guitar and bass. If you're not already familiar with Melodyne 5, I'd recommend checking out my Melodyne 101 course first, as it covers a lot of the basics, including how to use all of the edit tools, the macros, custom key commands, importing with the different algorithms, and just general operation of Melodyne 5. For this course, I'll be using Melodyne 5 Studio. However, most of the topics in this course can be followed with Melodyne Editor as well, except for multi-track editing and the sound editor, which are only available in Melodyne Studio. Now, this first video isn't just an introduction. I want to show you one of the most useful quick tricks I've ever learned in Melodyne when it comes to vocal tuning modern pop, hip-hop, and R&B music. It's no secret that vocal tuning as a pitch correction method and as a musical effect is commonly used in modern music. Often this is referred to as the autotune sound, even when Antara's autotune isn't even used. So in this video, I'll talk about creating that modern vocal tuning effect in Melodyne 5. So I've got a pop vocal here, but this will also apply to modern hip-hop and modern R&B.
Losing my cool, breaking my rules. I don't usually get so out of my head, walking the edge. What am I falling into? Out here again, where do we land? Tell me, is it too soon?
Okay, so it's a good recording, but it's not perfect. So what I'm going to do is select all of these notes, go up to my correct pitch macro. If you've edited any notes manually, you'll want to click here. Then you can pull up the pitch center to snap these notes in place. Now, alternatively, if you want to snap everything 100%, you can just simply select everything and then just double click, and it'll snap it to its nearest intended note. Now you can see the intended note here. There's a gray box behind each of the blobs. If you don't see that gray box, you can come up here and select Show Intended Notes.
Losing my cool, breaking my rules. I don't usually get so out of my head, walking the edge. What am I falling into? Out here again, where do we land? Tell me, is it too soon?
Cool, so everything's nice and tuned up, but if you want that modern vocal tuned effect, you're going to have to play with the pitch modulation tool. So the pitch modulation tool allows you to pull vibrato, the natural vibrato or the natural pitch drift out of the note. So there's a couple ways you can use this. One, you can simply select all the notes and double click. This will pull the pitch modulation to 0, which will give you a hard sort of what's called an auto-tune effect. Again, even though we're not using auto-tune here.
Losing my cool, breaking my rules. I don't usually get so out of my head, walking the edge. What am I falling into? Out here again, where do we land?
Or I could do this less drastically. I can just click on the notes and pull down with the pitch modulation tool to pull out the vibrato, but not 0% vibrato.
Losing my cool, breaking my rules. I don't usually get so out of my head, walking the edge. What am I falling into?
Now, I've heard a lot of recordings where they just did that and they just left it as is. But for me, it doesn't sound smooth enough. I really want this vocal effect to be really smooth. So what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll select the pitch tool, the top pitch tool, and I'll try to point out areas where I hear some artifacting in between the pitch transitions.
Losing my cool, breaking my rules. I don't usually get.
Like right here, you can hear like an obvious sort of step motion there. So with the pitch tool, you can hover over the far right side of any of the blobs and click and drag up or down to make the pitch transition more gradual or more intentional. So for those notes that have that little click in it, that little artifact in it, I'll pull this up to make it more gradual.
Losing my cool, breaking my rules. I don't usually get so.
Like right here, this little bottom note seems a little robotic, so I'll pull that up just to make that pitch transition more natural.
Losing my cool, breaking my rules. I don't usually get so out of my head, walking the edge. What am I falling into? into?
I'm going to pull this note up a half step.
What am I falling into?
Another thing you could do is you could select all of the notes, and you could adjust the pitch transition of all of the notes if you just wanted to make them all a bit more natural.
Losing my cool, breaking my rules. I don't usually get so out of my head, walking the edge. What am I falling into?
And if certain notes like this high note here, if they'd sound a bit artificial, you can go ahead and just double click and remove the pitch modulation altogether. So you can kind of do this on a note by note basis as well.
Out here again, where do we land? Tell me, is it too soon?
So that's how you can create that heavily vocal tuned effect, but also play around with the pitch transitions to give it a bit more realism and get rid of some of the artifacting produced by heavy pitch correction.